Good evening and welcome to The Big Picture here on Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Tracy Shilshi and today we're taking a closer look at the Uniform Civil Code debate. A day after the Supreme Court sought the view of the government on implementing UCC, the centre said that though it is necessary for national integration, any decision to execute it can be taken only after wider consultations. In fact, Law Minister D.V. Sadanand Gowda is saying that he would consult the Prime Minister, his cabinet colleagues and top law officers before government files its affidavit in the apex court. He also went on to say that wider consultations will be held with various personal law boards and other stakeholders to evolve a consensus, and the process may take some time. Well, to help us understand the issue better and what's on agenda, we have an esteemed panel. We, of course, have writer and social activist John Dayal joining us this evening here. We also have Hilal Ahmed, who is a fellow at CSDS. And we also have BJP's national spokesperson, Gopal Krishna Agarwal, joining us from the capital. If I could come to you first, Mr. Agarwal, talking about these wider consultations that the government is hoping, the law minister is hoping to have with not just political leaders, but also different religious law boards. Based on what? Is there a draft that you are preparing? Is there a draft in place? Based on what?
No, actually, it was part of our manifesto. BJP, when we went to the elections, we had said that uniform civil code is the need of for the integration of the country, and that because of that, it formed the part of the manifesto. And there has been a long debate. It has started with Shah Bano case long before in 1984, where there was a big debate and the whole nation had various agitations were seen. And then there was a modification in the court cases. And then after that also several occasions where it has arisen that there is a requirement for a uniform civil code, and it has come from the even the other religion communities, because in 1950 Hindu Marriage Code Act was successively seeing amendments and was being modified, but other laws there was some stagnation on their part. So there had been demand from various quarters that we need to have a uniform civil code without any interference of religion or discrimination based on whether gender or religion. That demand is coming from every quarter, but as it's a sensitive issue, and as Sadanand Gowda ji has said, that even if we so desire, but then it as a cosmopolitan country that we have, and we need for a healthy debate on the various issues. And ultimately, this demand has to come from the various segments who are being affected. From those segments, this demand should come. So therefore, though we even our constitution in section 44 clearly says that country should move towards uniform civil code. So therefore, I think the debate is very clear. The path is very clear. But the time period, how it will take and how we will move, is there is a lot of requirement, consultations is required. And now recently Supreme Court has said that you should come out with fast, so that has again given a chance for debate. But basically we think that our country, for national integration, gender equality and other requirement of law and other things, we need a uniform civil code. But how we will move ahead is still a debatable issue.
Yes, and it has been an issue of debate for years now, Mr. Dayal. In fact, before I come to you, I would like to also tell our viewers, we're joined by senior Supreme Court advocate and Rajya Sabha MP KTS Tulsi as well. We'll come to him in a little bit. Sir, if you could just hang on. But Mr. Dayal, if I could come to you first, talking about the debate that the BJP is, of course, saying, yes, there needs to be a debate. Yes, we are a secular country and it needs to show in the law practices as well, a uniform civil code necessary. But
I would like to add, you used the word that it is a sensitive issue. And I think I'd like to focus on that. Why is it sensitive?
Yes.
Because it is brought up almost solely and entirely to target and focus the spotlight on the Muslim community broadly for electoral and political ends. And that is the issue. Because who will not want internal reforms? Who would not want gender sensitivity? In fact, That was the main issue and the main objection to the Hindu Code Bill. I mean, it exists,
Yes.
but in many areas it exists only on paper. There are girls in Rajasthan and many other states who are married off at 13, who are mothers at 14. There are women who are still being denied their rights, whose inheritance is a big issue all over the country, including the South, including Kerala.
Yes.
So it is not that the Hindu Code Bill has immediately emancipated women of the Hindu faith. Having said that, there are also many other issues. Constitutionally, the Constitution only says that government shall endeavor. It does not say government will tomorrow bring forth a bill. Otherwise, the Constitutional Assembly would have brought forth a bill of that sort. So it is, that issue is also there. Thirdly, to say that this is going to be covering everybody and that it's all very nice is not true. Because there are many laws which are biased in favor of one religion. I mean, I would like to ask, I would be very, very happy if the Hindu undivided family rules were implemented so that even I could benefit in my income tax and similarly other issues. And the Dalit Muslims, Pasmanda Muslims, and the Dalit Christians would be delighted if the right for SC status was given to them, which is now given only to Hindus and to Sikhs and Buddhists because they're also deemed to be Hindus. Having said that, let me come to, because I'm possibly here because my name is John, then let me tell you about the Christians. We are not governed by canon law. Marriages, divorces, inheritance, adoption are governed by acts of parliament. Unfortunately, in the 19th century, our own women, the Joint Women's Program, had been campaigning for reforms in these acts for 30 years, and the church was backing them. Our great leader, the late Alan Delastic, Archbishop of Delhi, and I were among those who were requesting Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee also, please, change our rules, we are giving you a performer, we are giving you a draft, accept it. And they kept on. Law Minister Jethmalani and Law Minister Arun Jaitley kept on dilly-dallying. The next thing was, and this is very critical, we asked Mr. Vajpayee, because he brought forth the Uniform Civil Code, and we said, wonderful, tell us what you want to contain in the Uniform Civil Code. Because even the Hindu Code Bill, a whole lot of other activities, customs, etc., are contained in that. What is incestuous in Haryana is permitted in Tamil Nadu, for instance. And therefore, Archbishop Alan Delastic and I repeatedly asked the government, please show us a draft and then let us have a national debate on it, or a personal debate, and discuss with you. So I am happy that they're saying that there is need for sensitivity, there is need for a larger discourse, and a discourse can only begin when government opens up its mind and takes away that little vicious streak. It keeps on saying talak, 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 and it keeps on saying four wives, four wives, four wives. But the Anthropological Society, the ASI's report is very, very clear. There's polygamy and polyandry elsewhere also. So it is, as correctly said by the spokesperson, and it's a very sensitive area. It needs to be tackled sensitively. And lastly, reforms are best left to the community itself. We need to create an environment where a Buddha can be born, where a Kabir and a Nanak can be born.
Where change can happen
Christians
as
are
time
a history.
flows.
Christians have a terrible history also, but they have a history of reforms. Martin Luther King was inside.
Mr. Ahmed, do you agree that it is a particular community that feels, that does feel a bit targeted whenever we discuss the Uniform Civil Code, whenever the BJP, does come up in their manifesto, and this is not the first time, they've been doing it for past years as well. Is it true that a specific community does feel that their rights or their fundamental rights are not going to be heard?
But others also feel that their rights are being targeted. It's not just they themselves feeling.
No, but then there's a larger feeling of, that there is, the Muslim community definitely feels perhaps more threatened. Is that what is the sense that we also get that the CSDS gets when they
let me just reframe this sort of question. I think there are two aspects of this. One is the technical legal aspect. And that's where the whole debate just started, because there was a case in the Supreme Court, and then
Yes.
Supreme Court made some statement. Those who were aware of law, they know that technically, all personal laws are customary laws, and it is possible for the state, if there is a conflict, the state law will prevail. This is the understand. This is a very clear legal understanding. So that's a technical aspect of the debate, but there is a political aspect of the debate. And there are three main assumptions which are actually dominating the entire discourse. The first, and Professor Dayal just indicated that somehow, that it is assumed that common civil code means Hindu law. It is assumed that because Hindus are a majority, and then there is a possibility that that the majoritarian view will prevail, and we will have some kind of a Hindu law. So that is a strongly, there is a strong assumption. The second thing is about that Muslim personal law is divine. Again, it is a problematic view. This is not divine. It is somehow, a reference to a particular law passed in colonial regime and extended in post-colonial India. So this is not divine. And third assumption is that there is just one Muslim community, and therefore there is just one Shariat. There are various kinds of Shariat in India. Therefore, when such type of questions come up, it is very important to make these sort of clarification. Now,
Yes.
coming back to your point, the way in which BJP has been saying this. In fact, this whole debate on Shah Bano case, it started by feminist groups, but BJP actually appropriated that, and they actually joined it. So it has been the one of the greatest contribution of Indian feminist movement, that post Shah Bano case, they started making a very clear distinction between majoritarian view of common civil code and the consensual, feminist-oriented struggles in order to evoke the question of internal reform in communities. Having said that, I think so this appropriation question in politics is very central. The last point which I would like to underline is that again, BJP, and this is very interesting, and to my mind, it's surprising that look at the 1 year tenure of Mr. Modi. All those issues which are actually provocative, which were actually somehow, in other words, sensitive,
Yes.
were actually used in order to create a polarized society. So who would say that internal reforms are unimportant? They're very central. But as John Saab said, that it is very important that internal reform should come from below. I can give you one last example. Very recently, Muslim Mahila Morcha, this is not BJP wala Muslim Mahila Morcha, it's a different Muslim, all India Muslim Mahila movement. They did a survey and they asked this question about triple talaq. And in 7 states, and it was a very well done survey, and they came out with the finding that actually Muslim women do not want triple talaq at all. We also did a survey very recently, again asked this question, how many Muslims are actually aware the word called Muslim personal law? To our surprise, we came out that actually 80% didn't know.
Have no idea.
No idea about it, because local customs, local way of interpreting Islam as Shariat were dominating them.
All right. If I could bring in Mr. KTS Tulsi at this point of time. Sir, just looking also at the legal aspect of it, and in fact, interestingly, BJP leader MJ Akbar, in fact, saying that this matter should actually be left to the Supreme Court. Do you also feel that the government is also trying to wash its hands off in actually coming out with pointers which they can set out and, bring out in front of communities, so that a discussion actually begins? Instead of discussing about whether we need a uniform civil code, perhaps the debate should now move as to what it should be, what it should entail. Do you think the time for that has come?
Yes, I think the time for that has come. The Supreme Court has suggested the creation of a uniform civil code. Now, uniform civil code is not uniform Hindu code or Hindu. You see, uniform civil code is meant to deal with the human rights of mankind, and human rights particularly of the weaker section, and that is the women who are not able to get either safety or dignity in their own matrimonial homes, despite a plethora of laws that have been enacted by adding offences in the penal code, where 498A, dowry, then dowry death and 304. You see, we are in a situation where every hour a woman, a young, is being killed, is being burned to death. So the dowry deaths are increased. The Uniform Civil Code is required. The Hindu Marriage Act and the penal laws to deal with the menace of dowry have not been sufficient, but at least it comes out in the open, and the society realizes that the most shameful aspect of our society is that young brides are actually killed in the most heinous manner. But the lack of human rights, even amongst the Muslim women, is a very serious issue. So all women must be provided in this Uniform Civil Code the human right to live, make it real by providing them safety, by providing them dignity, by providing them a logical and a rational system of divorce, getting out of an abusive marriage, by giving them an alternative residence, maintenance. All this is supposed to be dealt with for all women. Uniform means that it is concerned with the entire mankind. The human rights of the entire mankind are the same. We are all human beings. We have the same aspirations. We want education, we want dignity, we want safety. Whether they are of one religion or the other is a different matter.
Yes.
Today, in the modern age, in the 21st century, the values which we seek in a personal law are identical. And that those values are that the girl must have the freedom before her marriage to be able to get good education and to be able to stand on her own legs. Whether they are of one community or the other makes no difference.
That's
So
right.
Therefore, this is not that any religious
not a
custom
particular
is being
religious
thrust on anyone.
Yes, not a particular
Uniform
section
Civil Code
of
will be a secular law.
All right.
It will be a secular law which will deal with all human beings.
I understand Mr. Agarwal wants to react to that. Mr. Agarwal, yes, Mr. Agarwal.
Yes.
What I want to say is that now I agree with you when you said that now there is a consensus that we need an amendment we want a uniformity in the civil code. And from there, now the basic question is how to move ahead. That we should debate more. And even if we talk a lot on the ideological issues or other issues, it will become more of a theory. But what I want to say is we are happy that now the demand for modification or amendment to the various laws in personal laws is coming from various communities themselves. They are going to the courts. Courts are giving their findings that their orders are being coming. So therefore, we think that our position as for BJP is there. We are very clear that ultimately we need a uniform civil code, but we don't want to impose it on without the consensus being created among the people and the demand being coming from those various personal or personal law communities. Those they want amendment. Ultimately, there is no question that there is a gender inequality which has arisen because of colonial laws earlier, even before 1937, we had a single uniform code. And that also I agree that we don't. We are not saying that if we have a uniform civil code in the country, we are going on.
I will not say you're misleading, but you're misinformed.
Therefore, I think
you're misinformed.
There is a consensus
Mr.
on
Dayal,
the issue.
Mr. Dayal, yes.
How do we move ahead?
Mr. Agarwal, please.
That is the process that we need to discuss.
No. I think Mr. Agarwal is
quite funny.
Is rather misinformed. I will not say that he is misinformed.
Yeah, rather because
it is
absolutely
his old knowledge of the development of laws, both personal and community laws, is I think maybe Mr. Tulsi could later educate all of us on that subject. Yes. The point here is all these are not just about women, which is a very 50% of the issues are of women, of course. And our women have been agitating for it for a long time, and the church has been supporting them, as I told you. There are other issues also. As I said right in the beginning, there are many other laws with a deep and very pungent religious bias. That must go. Before even we start discussing this, government must show its cleanliness and say, okay, we will begin by reviewing all laws and remove them of any religious bias, so that they are really, all laws are really equal.
But is that possible? Is that possible, Mr. Ahmed?
No,
is that no? As in,
where there's a political will, why is it not possible? If there's the political will, there is possible. But if you're going to look at X community as your vote bank, Y community as hostile, C community as
which is
doesn't
why
matter.
I'm saying, is that possible? Because we do know politics, of course. Even today, let's say if the BJP says, let's go ahead, I have made a draft, let's talk about it. Who knows? The opposition parties may in fact come up with, for all you know, they may not even come on board.
We will throw away the draft, but we'll have a look at it.
Yes.
Before we throw it away, we will look at it, tell you why we are throwing it away, and throw it away. Or, if you invite us, we will give you a draft. You invite us. You say, X community, please give us a draft which you think touches upon your issues, is inclusive, and will be acceptable to others also. So, either you give us a draft or invite us. Let's have 100 drafts.
All right. Mr. Tulsi, if I could just come to you again. The Supreme Court, of course, giving the government 3 weeks of notice, 3 weeks of time to come with a proper reply. Whether you want to do away with it or go ahead with it, you have to come with a concrete answer this time around. Do you actually see the Uniform Civil Code this time around, just not as a debate of whether we should have it or not, actually moving ahead this time around?
I think so. You see, Supreme Court has been saying this for the last 25 years.
That's right, which is why I wonder.
The governments are a bit reluctant because of the sensitivities of various communities. But we've not been able to explain to all the communities that Uniform Civil Code is not imposition of the Hindu code.
Absolutely.
It's a Uniform Civil Code which will take care of the human rights, the human values, the constitutional ideal of equality between the sexes, and safety and dignity in the matrimonial home, or either in the matrimonial home or later on their own, if at all they can't live together. Now, Uniform Civil Code deals with the reality of the social structure. All educated, the new religion or the new caste is education. People who are educated, they share the same values. The women have the same aspiration because they are educated. So all educated persons, you can make Uniform Civil Code optional, that if one of the two parties want to use it, they can use it. They can go to the court and enforce their rights. This doesn't mean that all parties have to be able to. If one of the two parties wants to avail of the remedy which is available under the Uniform Civil Code, it should be available. We don't have to create any conflict between people from different faiths. They can have their own customs, their own traditions, but you cannot take away the dignity of a woman. You can't trifle with the safety of a woman or even that of the husband. So therefore, the constitutional ideal, all these, after all, penal code is a secular code. It applies to everybody. Nobody can commit murder. Nobody can commit murder for any reason.
Yeah, Mr.
Except that whatever are the general exceptions which are provided. Similarly,
very
the
quickly,
civil
Mr.
code
you would like to respond to that.
will have
I think it is very important
neutral
to
values.
recognize.
Yeah,
will be based on
one
neutral
second,
values.
Mr. Tulsi, one second, yes.
I think it is, who would say that there should be no, but it has become very fashionable that we should have some national debate. So who would be the stakeholders? So first of all, we have to decide that. I am not going to consider Muslim Personal Law Board as a representative organization of Muslims. So I think we also have to, or BJP or the RSS, not BJP, RSS or VHP, because in the Babri Masjid case we have seen that we have Muslim Personal Law Board representing Muslims and VHP representing Hindu. If that is going to be the nature of this debate, that I'm sorry, I don't think that the real stakeholders, the people who are at the bottom level of society, who would like to be governed from their own ways of interpreting their own religiosity, I don't think that going to happen.
Okay.
So first of all, we have to. The second point is. This is related to what BJP spokesperson said.
Yes, running short of time, very quickly,
short,
yes.
Because this 1937, he said that we need not to discuss ideology. I agree with that. But this is something, a very interesting ideological interpretation of history. When he says 1937, he was actually referring to the year when actually Sharia Application Act was passed. So it means you are simply referring to Muslims, whether it is not a slip of tongue. It is ingrained. It is something which is more than slip of tongue.
It is,
very quickly.
Apart from the fact, I will no longer say there's a lack of political will. I am saying it's a political move. Because if it were the need of a political will, if there was political will, the law would have been there. We would have been invited 25 years ago to talk and something would have been done. But you just want to bring it out of the bag for a particular reason and then it goes back. The Government of India has not responded to the Supreme Court on its questions on the Dalit question PIL, on many other PILs.
All right.
So it has betrayed its mandate, it has betrayed the confidence that people have in it.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much. I'm very sorry we're running short of time now. We're completely out of time, but thank you so much for joining us. We all do agree with a uniform
short comment I would just wanted to make.
Very quickly, 10 seconds, very quickly.
I want to just make that he is talking about the political will. It will come from the public opinion. Political will arise from that. Secondly,
and we do hope and pray it does happen. It does happen and that debate does go ahead. We come ahead.
They are speaking against the politics of this move.
I'm very sorry, gentlemen, but that's about the time we have on The Big Picture. We'll be back with another topic tomorrow. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.